Hey there folks, JD here, and today we're going to be replacing the board, the motherboard, in my standard Creality Ender 3 Pro with the silent board. Now, a couple of things to just go over first. Before you do anything with electrics, make sure you isolate the power supply, unplug, disconnect totally. Just turning off at the wall, in my opinion, isn't good enough because somebody could come behind you and turn it on and then you might get zapped. Also, it's important to remember, before you do anything on your Creality, make sure the part that you have bought is the part that will fit your Creality. Now, as I mentioned, mine is the Ender 3 Pro. So the way that you can tell that is on the front of your Ender, you're going to have a little USB port. Now, it's either going to be a micro USB port like this, denoting that a micro USB port means this is the Ender 3 Pro, or you're going to have a mini USB port, which will fill that hole totally, in which case that is the Ender 3. This particular board, version 4.2.7, will not work with the Ender 3. It only works with the Ender 3 Pro. To be fair, when you buy it on Amazon, same as when I bought it, it cost about $49.99. When I bought it, it did say this is only for the Ender 3 Pro. I am just saying it just to be on the safe side, so everybody can hear it, everybody knows that is the fact. So let's pop that away. A couple of things about this. This is going to be quite weird from sort of an angling perspective. So I've got my head cam on as well. I'm recording from multiple angles to see which angle is the best. Now, here is the board, motherboard. As you will all be aware as well, this is not an ESD safe environment, electrostatic discharge environment. I've taken off everything, rings and anything like that, which might cause an issue. I've left my watch on because it monitors my blood pressure, my heart rate, as well as my blood oxygen. And I've had a bit of an issue with that over the past 12 months, so I've left that on. So a couple of ways as well we can put this down. Oh, I've also removed the glass bed. That doesn't serve a purpose, doesn't need to be on here, so I've taken it off. Before you start, there are two screws on the outside, on the top side of the casing, one in the front here, and as long as your power is off, and as long as the power is disconnected, as I mentioned earlier, you can move the electrical components very slowly. The bed, most definitely, because the stepper motor doesn't have any, it isn't locked in a position like when you have power going through it. The stepper motor will be locked, you can't move it. If you do try and move it, you're forcing that stepper motor. When everything's off, the stepper motor disengages, so you can move it with the littlest of ease, okay? So you've got one screw at the front on this base. You've got another screw at the back down there. I've already taken them off just to try and save a bit of time and move along. So you've got one in here and one at the back on this particular compartment. Now, I have got replacement screens for the Enders. I'm not going to do that today. This is just the silent board. So what I'm going to do is just flip this around, being very careful. There we go. Whichever way you try and flip it, somebody's going to say it's awful. You've got all the electronics this side. You've got the screen down here. At least to my way of thinking, this the printer currently isn't touching on the printed circuit board. It's being held by the outer metal casing of this particular screen. At worst case scenario, if this was to smash, I've got replacements upstairs. I can just replace it and carry on. But hopefully that's not going to happen. So there's two more screws in here. There's one screw on the left side and one screw on the right side. I am going to take this off now. As some of you can tell, I'm downstairs today filming this. If you can hear a weird rumbling in the background, I apologise. Oh, just lost that screw. It's on the floor underneath my foot. I apologise. That noise you can hear, that low rumbling, is probably my dog snoring on the sofa. So that is now what you're now looking at. So this is the old board, version 4.2.2. This is the new one, the silent one, 4.2.7. It's worth noting that on all of these connectors underneath here, there is glue, hot glue. So you need to just get rid of that first. It's not a lot, it's not the end of the world. To be honest with you, my nails are quite long from playing guitar anyway, so I should just be able to pick that off with the littlest of ease. If you can't, then you can use a flat screwdriver or an Allen key, something just to give you a little bit of purchase to get it off. It's quite easy when it does come off. In fact, he says, there you go, there's a bit there. So you're going to have to go around and do this for all connectors, making sure at no point that you destroy any of the connectors. Worst case scenario, if this is dead on arrival, you're going to have to go back to this board. So therefore, you've got to make sure that this board still works and works properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for, in my little printer toolkit I've got here, I should have a couple of flathead screwdrivers, and every one I'm picking up is a Phillips. There we go. Let's just pour all this out here for a second. Well, what used to be a flathead's a little bit, I mean, this one is very old, but still, that should do the trick for the moment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to probably speed this up as I pick off all the glue. Okay, so now I've picked off all the glue. I think that's going to stop me from getting these points out. So I'm going to take out this fan for a start, because I don't like wires being pulled, and that wire was being pulled quite a bit. So here comes the tricky bit. Now, I bought 3 of these. 2 of them came with an instruction manual, 1 of them did not. So I'm using the one that did not purposefully, because both of these boards, the one that's currently installed and this one, they mirror each other exactly. There's no more ports on here than on there. Everything else should fit perfectly. So if you hold this up in the way that you've got all this connected, my personal preference, let's just see if this is going to fit before I start. Yeah, it fits perfectly. Great. So my personal preference with anything like this is you're going to get the hard to do cables done first, because the rest of the other ones are nice and easy. So on these, while trying not to hold, try to hold as little surface area as you can of the board, I am just going to unscrew these as much as I can. They're all unscrewed, ready perfectly. So now what I'm going to do is hopefully try and, actually these boards are numbered, look, they're labelled XYZE, XYZTBTH. Does that, okay, so the white ones down here don't have the white ones down here don't have a label by the look of it, but these up here do have labels. And of course it goes without saying that these down here aren't going to have labels either. So what I'm going to do is, I could just take this out, couldn't I? There are I think there is, there we are, I can see one Allen key there that I should be able to undo. There we go. So if I undo this, then I should get a little bit more flexibility from the cables and from the wires. And then I should be able to go ahead and replace to my heart's content. Oh, no, there's another one there. Another Allen key there. Perfect. And then, oh, my fingers are far too fat for that. Perfect. Oh, look at that, caught that. Beautiful. I've lost one on the floor anyway, so I'm going to have to go looking for that later. Oh, and there's one more. I can feel resistance still in the board. It's in the centre, or just off centre. Okay, perfect. So then let's replace that as well. And then, oh, there we go, done. So in total, 2 screws from underside, 2 screws from the top, 3 screws from the motherboard. Oh, no, it looks like there might be another one as well. Possibly. I've still got a bit of resistance from that board. Where the hell is that other screw? If there even is one, it could just be that it's... Oh no, it certainly does feel... There it is. Right above the letter Y. And now that one comes out. So 4 screws from the motherboard. And there we go, that pulls out. Now hopefully, look at that. let everybody see everything. Right, this is so much easier now, because now you can see what cables are going where. So there are a lot. These big thick cables, the red and the black here and the red and the black there, they're very tough, very thick. So they are going to keep on pulling the board away from me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at replacing these two first. So black on the bottom, red on the top. And then I'm going to do the same here. Black on the bottom. I mean, none of this is really ideal. I should be doing this in an ESD safe environment. But as I say, it's just for myself. I have taken as many precautions as I humanly can. So let's just screw that in. Sorry if the camera angles aren't great at this particular point. I just need to make sure that... There we go. So those two are in. I need to sort that red one out a bit more. So then I've got the... Right, let's do the two thin ones first. So red on the end. Oh, I could have a better screwdriver as well. So red on the end mixed with, there we go. I tell you what might actually help, if I can do this without snapping, without going through any cables. Come on now, John. Beautiful. If I take off that, I've got a little bit of leeway. Not much. This is a very tight, very fiddly job. But it does allow me a little bit more leeway to be fitting these cables in. Okay. That's done. And then the red and black, the second one, which is red and black there. Let's take that out. As long as you've got these cables in, when you come to replace them, when you come to replace this board, as long as you've got the cables in, not too tight, but tight enough that they don't come out, you could always tighten them up a bit later. You just want to have an idea of where they go, so that you're not tripping over yourself cable-wise, because the worst case scenario is you come to do all this, and then a cable drops out of somewhere as you come to do something else, and it just gets hellish then. I mean, you can refer to the diagrams. There are diagrams online. Red on the left, black on the right. Sorry, if you can't see what I'm doing, it might not make much sense me saying what I'm saying. But red on the left, black on the right. There we go. Is the ports I'm taking the cables out of and the ports I'm putting the cables into. Oh, I don't know. I don't think that's on the cable. I think that's clamping the rubber, the sheath. Yeah, I was right. That tightened up far too quickly. And then black here. Oh, black and red, but I'm only seeing it from one angle with one colour. There we go. Come on, bit tighter. There we go. As I say, we can go back through them a bit later and tighten them up. I'm going to have to with some over here. And then I'll do these last two. And then from that point then, it is just all the plug and play. The plug and play ports then. Plug and push sockets. There we go. So that goes in. Nice. That's in. Yeah. Is that in? Yeah. The sheath is come off the cable a little bit, and it's at a weird angle. It looked as if it was wasn't in properly. There we go. And now the final one is in. Hold that down while I tighten it up. There we go. Beautiful. Right. So those are the fiddly bits done. There's a bit more glue on here, but as I mentioned earlier, this stuff comes off pretty damn easily. There's not a lot. I've replaced some motherboards in my time where this glue has been absolutely everywhere, so this really isn't that much of a big deal. Right, so now you can look at that and your cables are in. Yeah, they're in, and everything's okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work back, plugging in the white ones first, the lower white ones, and then going up to the higher ones. Now, there's one thing here that I was just about to forget, and I'm going to mention it. You're going to have to move the cables a little bit because this motherboard is going to sit in exactly as I've got it positioned here. So you don't want any cables going around the back of the board. Otherwise, when you come to reattach the board to the chassis of the printer, you're going to be undoing cables and feeding them back through so that you've got a clear place of alignment for the board. Oh, come on. There we go. As I say, oh, come on, pull the socket, not the cables, John, you know this. Right, so that's that. And then this socket then goes in the top. Oh, there's a bit of glue on that I didn't see. Look at that hiding. So that goes in the top port there. The bottom port here, the 2-pin bottom port, that's for the fan. So if you're wondering what goes in there, that's the fan. The white port here stays empty. That 3-pin port in the bottom there, that stays empty as well. This black port that I'm just taking out this now with the ribbon cable, that is for your screen there. So when you come to replace these screens, because I've replaced one of my printers upstairs with the new touchscreen interface, when you come to replace this, obviously I'm going to make a video on it a little way down the line, but essentially that's the cable you have to exchange. So you pull that cable out, reroute it, and then plug the new one directly into that socket. All right. So, and then it's just these top 4. So I've done that one first. This might be a bit fiddly because the cables, oh, damn it. Right, I need to pull that one back through there. Nice. So as I mentioned, these cables are all labelled. So this is actually quite a nice little job. So these, oh, this one's tight. This one's tight. Why is that so tight? Oh, because the other cables haven't moved. So let's move that one as well. I got too much tension on these cables. So I'm struggling to, I've got to rejig them a bit. Right. If I got any leeway with that, I got a little bit there. Okay, so let's try this one. This is very tight, but it goes in. Okay, fine. And then these are a little bit easier now because by plugging in this one, I've generated a little bit of slack from the other two, and I've had to, as you saw, feed this round. So then I've got Y and then X. So that's X. This is Y. Oh, I could, I suppose, twist all these cables here, couldn't I? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Damn it. That's a lot easier. Okay, so what's this? What's this one? Y. So Y goes into there. Y goes into there, and then X goes into, sorry for all the fingers everywhere, folks. X goes into there. So that's everything. That's your board essentially rewired. Now, what did I mention about those cables not being on the back? So let's just move these around like that a little bit. Make sure everything's still connected, which it is. And then essentially this board is just going to clip straight back in. Oh, let's move this one. What cables am I pulling? That one. Let's move this one back over the top here. And then back into there. As I say, there are a few that you don't want to be doing too much rerouting. That's all right though. And then make sure that cable sits in there. And then the only last thing you've got to do really is to line up. Oh, do you know what? This is annoying the hell out of me. I'm going to try and clip that. There we go. You're gone. Don't need you anymore. Which now, there we go, should supple up these wires a bit. And then, there we go. Oh, there we go. That's it, almost. My glasses are steaming up here. Can't see a lot. There we go. And that's it. Now all I've got to do is screw back in these Allen key screws. And then lastly is just to attach that fan onto this port here, not the bottom 3 pin, but the one up from that. So once you get, oh crap, once you get one cable in there, sorry, once you get one, I'm looking at cables, I'm not thinking cables, I'm thinking these Allen key screws. Once you get one of these screws in, it should be relatively easy, because then everything then pretty much is going to sit as it should. Right. What's going on with this? Why isn't that? Oh, okay, I can see. It was lined up, but it wasn't. Come on. Wasn't in the hole. So the hole's cut out on the chassis here. That USB port wasn't anywhere near it. So that's why I couldn't screw this screw back in, because it wasn't actually in. It was lined up with it, but it wasn't actually in the hole, which meant that nothing else lined up, which now, hopefully, I'm hoping that this is lined up. Oh, no, it's popped out. God damn it. Fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. Come on. Something is stopping this from going right the way in the way it should. What is that? Oh, that's what it is, look. It's never easy, is it, folks? On the USB port here, that little plug should be flush. This little plug here should be flush like that one, but it's not, see? It's sticking up. So it doesn't fit in the hole. So I'm going to ever so gently just move those down, move those 2 prongs, and then with a little bit of slight force, there we go, bang, you heard it click then. Right, I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on, because 1 minute it was lined up, then it wasn't, and it was, then it had jumped out the hole. Then there we go, look at that, I can feel this screw is biting. That's in. So you've got 4 screws to do up on the motherboard. In other news, that's 3 screws done and the 4 screws in the back. So then what I'm going to do is plug it in, see if it turns on, which is always a start. Right, so that's in. Beautiful. That's in, that's done. Last one is just this cable in here. As they are all in, I'm just going to go through. I think I pretty much tightened up all of this anyway, didn't I? I'm just going to check one last time. So now, put it on the right way, John, that helps. There we go. That's in. Nice. As I mentioned earlier, I dropped one of these screws on the floor, so I'm only going to do one of them up at the minute because I've got the other one which is on the floor. And once I know everything's working and once the fans are spinning and everything, then I'll come back and I'll... Right then, folks, I'm back. So I've plugged the power in. I've put my glass board back on it on the printer as well, because I decided once I'm down here, I'm going to recalibrate, and then I'm going to start up a print up here rather than go back upstairs. I've also put new firmware on the SD card, and I'll put a link to that firmware in the description. So now, hopefully, it's going to install the firmware and then reboot exactly like that, and then. Right, we should be okay. So what I'm going to do first off, well, it can read off the SD card, brilliant, so I know that's working. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use CHEP. I don't know if you've ever heard of CHEP, C-H-E-P. I'm going to use his bed leveler. Look how quiet it is. Listen to that. Isn't that amazing? So I'm just gonna show you how quiet the whole printer is. The only thing you can hear is the fan. Perfect. That's done exactly what it says on the tin, which is it's made the whole printer silent. So now I'm going to recalibrate this and then recalibrate the whole of my Ender 3 Pro fleet. But as I was saying, CHEP, C-H-E-P, look for him online. His calibration method is by far the best. Bit of paper underneath until you feel a bit of pressure, move on to the next, working on the four corners and the middle, adjusting the little knobs under here, and it works flawlessly every single time. So there we have it, folks. Thank you ever so much for watching and listening. I've been JD, you've been fantastic as always. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the channel. So until next time, my friends, happy printing.